Welcome to today's episode of the J&J podcast. I'm Jamie.
This is Jameson.
Want to welcome all of our listeners in, and we wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our listeners. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. This is a new journey for us, but we're excited about the J&J podcast and how we're continuing to grow. So thanks a lot for rocking with us. Um, Kicking us off this week, we're actually going to start with, and for those of you who have been listening, you know that we're Lakers fans, and you know how we feel about the Lakers, and you know that this is not going to be an unbiased view because we are Lakers fans. But we'll try to be somewhat unbiased when it comes to, some of the things that we talk about. But Jameson, why don't you kick us off? The Lakers are definitely on a roll. As of last night, Sunday night, the Lakers are now number two in the West. A couple of things happened to, fall in place for them. So they're now number two in the West. But it wasn't just that some things fell into place. It's the fact that they've been winning and they've been doing it actually quite spectacularly. So let's jump in there first. Lakers on a roll.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what I'll say is, man, and I said it last week on the podcast, and they've just taken it to a whole nother level, but the Lakers have just looked absolutely phenomenal. To your point, they've now won 12 out of their last 14 games, and they're number two in the West. People forget the Lakers were number 7 in the West whenever they traded for Luka. Now they're number 2, which is absolutely insane. You got to take this into account. We're doing this without that Mark Williams trade going through. Jackson Hayes has been our starting center. We've been running with the shout out to James, and I just guess every single person that has Jameson, either their first or last name, is just good at basketball. But, even our backup center, his last name is Jameson. They showed a stat. We haven't lost a game whenever he plays. It's insane. We're 11-0 whenever he plays. But
okay, technically, his name Jemison.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. I mean, come on, man. I see what you did there.
Close enough, but yeah, to your point though, it's just the Lakers have been on an absolute tear, and just what's really been impressive to me is like out of those, ever since Luka has gotten traded to the Lakers, he's really only had like 2 Luka-esque games. That game against Denver in Denver where he went off, that was one of those Luka type games. And then I will say last night against the Clippers was one of those Luka type games. But this past week, the fact that we beat the Timberwolves, that was a tough game, especially coming off the win that they had against the Thunder. Like the fact that we won that game and then we beat the Clippers back to back, like that's absolutely insane. Like I can't remember the last time where the Lakers beat the Clippers back to back games. Even dating back to like whenever we won the championship in the bubble, like I'm telling you, man, between Luka Doncic being there, he's continuing to get more settled within the offense. Like people got to realize Luka's been shooting. This might be the worst he's shot for a stretch in his career from beyond the 3-point line, and we're still winning games. And Luka's still putting up 20-point triple doubles. Like it's absolutely insane. Austin Reeves been playing phenomenal. I know Rui got hurt a couple games ago. We haven't even had Rui Hachimura the last 2 games, and we're still winning. Dorian Finney-Smith has come to play, and I'm telling you, Goodwin, that brother, like he just brings energy every single game off the bench. I'm telling you, like it's literally like it's like our opponents are in a penitentiary whenever it's Goodwin and Dorian Finney-Smith and Jarrett Vanderbilt on the floor. Like we just have so many different lineup combinations. The offense has been phenomenal. And people got to realize, too, one of the concerns for the Lakers is going to be their defense after we lost Anthony Davis. Since the Anthony Davis trade and the Lakers acquired Luka, the Lakers have been the number 1 team defensively in all of basketball without Anthony Davis. So it just says a lot. Like the team has rallied. People are playing their roles. Exactly. It's absolutely insane. People are playing their roles. People have completely bought in. J.J. Redick is honestly a Coach of the Year candidate. Trust me, I don't think he's going to get it over the likes of like Kenny Atkinson, for example, and what he's doing out in Cleveland. But at the same time, it's like for you to make arguably the biggest blockbuster trade in arguably all of sports history at the time that they did, and to be a better team as a result, like they've won 12 out of their last 14 games. Like it's just absolutely insane. And I will say this. Something that's also impressive to me is that we can have this debate on another podcast, but in my opinion, LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time. It's no disrespect to Jordan, Kareem, Kobe, none of these other greats. But I'm telling you, bruh, what this brother is doing at the age of 40 years old right now, like we talk about it all the time. LeBron could play till he's 45 if he wants to. Like I'm not even trolling when I say that. Like LeBron, people joked about even this past summer. They were like, "This is his last Olympics." If LeBron wants to play in the Olympics in 2028, I'm telling you, he could. He can. Like, Dad, this brother is fifth on the MVP ladder at age 40. Are you kidding me?
Agreed.
They just showed
I
that they just showed the updated MVP ladder like 2 days ago. He was fifth. Like that's unheard of. I don't even think you can do that in 2K My Career at the age of 40. They're trying to force you to retire at that age. And this brother's putting up MVP caliber numbers with Luka Doncic being on that team now. It's just
no, I
absolutely
agree.
insane.
I agree. So, I'm a couple of things that I'm going to say about because there was a time when you and I would just go back and forth about. Actually, it was Kobe and Jordan.
Yeah.
Then it was LeBron and Jordan. Here's what I won't do anymore. I won't argue that point. I won't argue whether or not LeBron is the GOAT or Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Just not going to do it anymore. I see an argument for both. Um, I still have my, preferences, but I won't argue it anymore. If someone says to me that LeBron is the GOAT, like you've now said, um, I won't argue it. Hard to argue it anymore.
Yeah.
It just is. Now, if he were to win, they were to win a championship, this year. Then, then,
We
then
might have to change your tune.
yeah, we're having a different conversation.
Yeah.
We absolutely are. So I'll preface it with that. If he were to win another championship this year, um, then we may be having a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
All the things that you talked about, the Lakers actually being a better defensive team without Anthony Davis. Yeah, there's some sorcery or something going on. I don't know what JJ Redick is doing. Did he ever spend time in New Orleans? Is there some? I mean, like, did he go have some
You know,
voodoo
he
dolls or
he
something?
he played for the Pelicans.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was trying to remember. I thought one of the teams he actually played for was the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So might have learned something while he was in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. But for this team to now, and here's the thing, what it's now shown is there's been a fire that's been lit because
Mm-hmm.
Luca has not been shooting the ball well, but Luca's actually been making an effort on defense.
Facts.
There was one game I'm trying to remember what it was probably 3, 4 games ago. Where I think he had like 3 or 4 steals.
It was the game against the
Um,
Nuggets. He had 4 steals.
he had 4 steals exactly against the Nuggets. Um, the team is playing. I mean, like the way that they shift defensively, they're playing team defense. And to your point, no Rui, and no Austin Reeves the last 2 games.
Mm-mm.
I think Rui's been out 3. Austin Reeves the last 2, and so when I saw that we were playing the Clippers back to back, I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll split that. I mean, that's literally the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, we'll split that. And to just show you, because I heard a commentator mention it today, Clippers were trying to win because
Yeah.
Kawhi played almost 40 minutes.
Yep.
Like they were trying to win that game, and we still beat them without Austin Reeves and without Rui. And I know, and I'm just going to say it because there's lots of talk, and I've noticed it. You noticed it. There's always a trend about certain teams and most teams in the NBA where dudes are hurt,
Oh
and
yeah, and they
magically,
come back and play. They're completely healthy when it's time to play the Lakers on the schedule.
absolutely. So when the Lakers are on the schedule, all of a sudden dudes get completely healthy. LeBron has even picked up on it. I heard him mention it in one, interview. Norman Powell magically decided to play last night, pushed himself to play, and then had to leave because he wasn't ready.
Well, you know
I
it's
think
funny that you bring that up. They showed on Twitter today. He actually responded to a fan. One of the fans messaged him on Instagram, like DM'd him, and was like basically going at him for doing that. They were like, "It's just funny to me how you were all of a sudden good to go against the Lakers," and he actually responded to the fan. It was hilarious.
that's hilarious. I didn't know that that actually happened. So
Yeah.
it just shows you, that we're clicking on all cylinders. Without and listen, I'm not going to downplay what Jackson Hayes is actually doing because people are like, well, without a legitimate big, well, he's doing what he's asked to
Facts.
do. He's
Exactly.
playing his role perfectly. He's playing defense, and there are times when we don't have to have the so-called quote unquote big in the game because of how good defensively we are and how we rotate. And then it also creates mismatches because who's going to guard LeBron? I think it was
Facts.
Paul Pierce and KG, and they were talking, and they said, when LeBron is your second best dude on the court, he said, look at all the other teams that have what you call dynamic duos or duos. Is their second best guy right now
Nope.
as good as LeBron?
And now he's able to play off the ball.
And that's what I'm saying. So let's just, if you think about, let's go down the list of, very quickly. And I know we didn't really talk about potentially doing this, but let's go down the list of teams in the West, top teams, maybe the top five,
Okay.
and who their second player is. So start with OKC because they're number one in the West.
It's J.
Um,
It's on. I mean, my thing is people are gonna say Chet, but I think it's Shea and then J Dub.
I do as well. Is J Dub better than LeBron right now?
No, sir. No.
Okay. So after that, who would it be? What, Denver maybe?
You can say
Or is
Houston,
it Memphis?
Houston or Memphis or Denver. Those can be the next
Okay.
three.
Any of them. So let's go down the list. So let's start with Houston. So Jalen Green
And then Alfred
and
Sengun.
is
Either or.
Sengun.
No,
Either
Jalen
or.
Green. No, yeah, neither one of them is better than LeBron.
I mean, because again, these are younger dudes.
Yeah.
Don't have playoff experience. Don't know what is required to go deep into the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay.
You
So
want to say
there's
Denver? I don't think
let's
Jamal
go.
Murray is better than LeBron. I'm
Come on,
sorry.
man. He's not consistent enough. He
No.
had that one good playoff run,
He only
but
plays good against the Lakers. I'm sorry.
exactly. And look, he played against the Lakers most recently. I think he dropped 30. They still lost.
Yeah, still lost. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So go to Memphis.
Memphis is Ja and then probably Jaren Jackson.
Okay. Jaron Jackson. Really?
No.
Nope. I don't think so.
No.
No. And here's where I'll jump in because I think I heard it might have been KG. I heard one of them say this as well. They were like, okay, our third option is as good, if not better, than
Austin
some of the
Reeves.
second options
Yep.
on some of these teams.
Yep.
So we've now won the last two games. We played the last three without Rui, but the last two without Austin Reeves, and we won in those games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, yes, we don't have the big that we thought we were going to have because we didn't get Mark Williams. I also notice now Dalton Connect seems to now have his head on
Facts.
in a good space.
Dad.
And so last night, because we didn't have Austin Reeves, he dropped 19.
Exactly. And another point I was going to bring up, which people fail to realize, all this talk about, oh, the bigs. Can you tell me the last team that won an NBA championship where outside of the Lakers, when we had Anthony Davis, where the big was a focal point of the offense and was the second best player on the court? Any
Well, I
championship.
mean,
Think about this. Boston won last year. Porzingis and Al Horford played big roles, but they weren't even top
no.
four players on their team production
You have to
wise.
go back. You have to go back to the Nuggets.
That's-
To be honest.
But my point even with
What you're
that
saying,
is
the
just
second best.
yeah. I'm talking about I'm saying second best. I'm talking about outside of Jokic and Anthony Davis when we won. The recipe for success now in basketball is you need to have at least two superstars or like two all-star level players, and then the complementary pieces have to mesh and gel. Like
Yep.
that's why the Mavericks were so successful last year. They had Kyrie and Luka, and everybody else bought into their role. Like Jackson Hayes is literally doing what Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford did last year for the Mavericks when Luka was still there. Like they weren't asked to do much. You just need to rim protect and catch lobs and just not be a liability defensively. And Jackson Hayes has done that.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, the complementary pieces, like the Lakers have had this team reminds me. I'm telling you of the bubble championship team that we had. It was LeBron and AD playing at a phenomenal, like incredible level, both of them, which Luka and LeBron are doing right now, and all the complementary pieces bought into their role. Remember Danny Green, Kuzma, Alex Caruso, KCP. We have those players now on this roster, and then
One of the Morris twins who came
Yep.
in and
Yep. And now the biggest difference is, like you said, we have the best third option in all of basketball.
I agree. He's
So-
actually a second option on some teams.
Facts. And some nights he's
so-
a second option.
Well, exactly. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, and it gives LeBron a chance to rest a little bit more
Facts.
too. So okay. I mean, we could stay on that topic, but since we're still talking about, the Lakers, I think that we can And there's still some more basketball to be played, but I think are we ready to put them in the contenders bracket?
Yes, yes. I think
Okay.
I think the top five contenders right now. Um, and if you disagree, let me know. But I
Okay.
think you have Boston clearly. I think you have
Yep.
Boston. You have OKC. You have Cleveland. You have the Lakers, and then fifth you could put Denver. A team like that. Outside of those, you can maybe throw the Knicks in there. I know like they've lost some games that they should have, but I'm telling you like they match up well with a lot of teams come playoff time, just given their roster. So those would be my top five. But the Lakers, there's no doubt in my mind they're contenders. And honestly, outside of OKC in the West, there's no other team I'm really nervous about for the Lakers. I think we can beat any team in the West, including the Thunder. That's the only team I worry about.
Okay. I like your list. I would I would probably put, and I haven't, I mean, the Bucks to me, they're so inconsistent.
They
They
are.
probably be kind of on the outside looking in. But I would probably have the Lakers fifth just because we're still figuring some things out. But I would have us in the top five at this point.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, so to your point, probably OKC, well, Boston, OKC,
Cleveland.
and not necessarily in any particular order. Cleveland, um, and then yeah, I mean,
That's why I said the
I
Lakers fourth is like,
yeah, but I still have because listen, I saw how we played against Denver.
yeah,
Um,
you still got to respect Denver and it's
you,
Jokic.
you do. You have to respect them. So I might still put them ahead of us just because that one game we played well. I need to see if we can be consistently
For a
like
whole
that
series too.
for a series. Absolutely. So then I would put us and or the Bucks. So we're either going to be fifth or sixth right now
Yeah.
if I were to list contenders. Um, okay. With that said, I'm going to segue to another topic because you and I are now putting us in the top five or six to be a potential contender. Let's talk about this particular person on TV who still feels the need to make comments about LeBron and all the things that he's accomplished. And when LeBron basically called out the media, I wanted to get your quick thoughts about that. And then I'm going to shift to another one who talks on another network, who always has nothing positive to say about the Lakers. So I'm going to let you first, if you want, chime in on that particular person. And we all know who we're talking about, who's really loud on ESPN.
Yeah, so as far as the guy from ESPN is concerned, I'll just leave it at this. Um, he's wrong, first of all, about like LeBron's comments. He was 1,000% correct. And as you saw, a lot of the basketball aficionados, including Gilbert Arenas, who was on the show this past Friday, literally sat up there and defended LeBron, and they're like, he's not wrong. I think part of the problem with the media is, and this is going to lead me to, which I'm glad, like we talk about the Lakers, but we also watch basketball
Yep.
from multiple lenses. Like you can't just be a biased fan. Like we watch the game, we study the game. Like we don't just watch the Lakers. We just love basketball. And I feel
Yep.
like part of the problem is now with a lot of media members, they only focus on a specific number, like a set amount of teams and players. Like prime example, that Friday, instead of talking about LeBron and his comments about the media, how about giving a shout out to the Detroit Pistons, the way they've been playing basketball? How about highlighting
Mm-hmm.
some of the actual, like Dad, Stephen Curry had 56 points on 12 made threes on a 92% true shooting percentage, and it wasn't
Barely a
talked
blip.
about. And it wasn't
Yes.
talked about. Like,
Yep.
all they want to do is talk about, oh, what LeBron said about the media. To his point, like, and what better
They
person?
proved his point.
They literally, like, he sat up there and proved his point, first of all, and then I'm like, if anybody can comment on being the face of the league and what comes with that, it's LeBron Raymond James. You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, LeBron's been scrutinized since he was 16 years old. He was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. Like, just to put into perspective. So I'm like, if first off, if anybody can comment on it, it's LeBron. But second off, it's just like, as you can see, the real basketball aficionados and like the actual players came to his defense because they get it. Like, a lot of people that cover basketball, of course, like you have Kendrick Perkins, Shanae Ogwumike, people that actually play the game. I love listening to Tim Legler. Like, he just has a different perspective when it comes to basketball. They don't focus on a lot of like the different media headlines. They focus on actually breaking down like basketball. like film, like good actual like plays, film, etc. So I think more so going forward, there needs to be more of a focus on actually studying and covering and just analyzing actual basketball play as opposed to just media headlines. That's been part of the problem with basketball, and that's why a lot of times like the NBA product is dying some when it comes to rating because all the media talks about is a set number of teams and players from day to day. Like it's annoying.
Absolutely.
So yeah, your thoughts though.
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's all about takes,
Yeah,
like seriously, like
for
hot
real.
takes, and you know, making sure that you get views and follows and what's hot, what can be a quick headline on Instagram or on TikTok, rather than actually focused on the actual product, the game of basketball.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of that is what's happening. There's one on another network who literally every time the Lakers aren't that good. Yeah, they played well, but they're pretenders. They're not very good. They're gonna suck. I wonder what he'll say now. And I know he'll stick to his guns simply because that's who he is, and we know who we're talking about. So inside the NBA, if folks are still trying to figure out who we're talking about, because he always hates on the Lakers. Can't say a thing about what JJ Redick is doing right now. Can't say how quickly, because I know that that's the thing with everybody. They were like, well, the shift went from, oh, the Dallas Mavericks might struggle to now they're now they're the best team or one of the best teams in the West. Nobody expected this team to gel this quickly. You and I talked about this on 3 podcasts ago, and we said LeBron is a genius when it comes to basketball. And we both said he's figured it out. He always figures it out. And so now what will people say? Because they figured it out even faster than even you and I expected them to figure it out. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. What he might say on Thursday's broadcast, because you can't say anything about winning 12 out of 14 games, sweeping the Clippers, the way we're beating teams, the fact that we're better defensive, that the Lakers are better defensively. You've had dudes who've been out for the past 3 or 4 games, and we're still winning games that way. What will they say now? What will they say?
Facts.
Um, so, all right. Well, we're going to shift, very quickly because this is going to be somewhat of a short episode this week. We're going to shift to what we always kind of talk about, and that's moving the needle. Jameson, I know you had a like you and I so agree about what happened on the in the fight, the Tank Davis
Yeah.
Roach fight, and I know you had some strong feelings about it, and I have some extremely strong feelings about some of the comments that Tank Davis made. So, tell me about your moving the needle.
Yeah, my moving the needle was that Gervonta Davis Roach Jr. fight. And you like I'll say this. I've always been for box. I've always been a Floyd Mayweather fan, but ever since he retired, my favorite boxer has been Gervonta Davis. So going into that fight, I was rooting for him to win. But I can flat out, I can sit up here and say now confidently that he should have lost that fight. And I really felt bad for Roach Jr. because, you know, um, literally even going into the 12th round, like Gervonta Davis, they only had him up 1 point on that, official scorecards. But for you to literally like in the 9th round take a knee, which should have been counted as a knockdown, go over, get your face whatever like wiped off because supposedly what Gervonta said after the fight was that his hairstylist put grease in his hair and that while he was fighting, like, it started like flowing down into his eyes, causing his eyes to burn. That's why he, took that knee and, went over to his corner. I'm like, bro, forget all that. Like, the rules of boxing are when you take a knee like that, that should count as a knockdown. And what's wild is outside of that, there were no knockdowns in that fight. So with as close as with the score being so close, even after that fight heading into the scorecards, for Roach Jr.'s sake, if that was officially counted as a knockdown, he literally wins that fight. Like, he genuinely got done greasy, no pun intended, without Gervonta Davis.
I see what you did there. I
Yeah,
see what you did there.
he literally got done greasy in that fight. And I will say this, because we talked about it. Everybody's already calling for, a rematch et cetera, et cetera. Trust me, I want to see a rematch. The only problem is with boxing is, and it's why the sport is starting to die off, it's because it'll be another 2.5 years before they fight again. It's like, bruh, what they should do now is there's no reason why they need to at least fight by October or November again this year. Before the year
Agreed.
is out, they need to fight again. But knowing boxing and all the back and forth that's going to be, coming the next coming months, they might not even fight again until late next year. You know how it goes.
I do.
But that's why I felt bad for Roach Jr. But I will say this going forward, he made a name for himself. I'm really proud of him.
I agree. I'll touch on this very, very quickly. Tank Davis is starting to do what Adrian Broner used to do, and that is
Yep.
take too long to get going.
Yep.
He just sits back, doesn't really throw good shots, doesn't set up any real good punches, doesn't really jab. He waits until the seventh or eighth round to really get going, and then he just tries to knock dudes out. The reason why he doesn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, and listen, I know folks are gonna say Shakur doesn't have the strength. Shakur will keep him on the outside. He will actually use the sweet science. He will box that dude, and it'll be too late when you're trying to now bum rush Shakur. He's too good. You won't be able to touch him. It would be wise for Javante to get back in, to go back into training and actually focus on other things besides just trying to knock somebody out because he should have lost that fight. We're both Tank Davis fans. We appreciate what he's been able to do, where he's come from, and all that good stuff. And then lastly, to touch on what you said, by the way, the woman who did his hair, she said, I didn't put any grease in his
I
hair. She
saw
said,
that.
that is a lame. She was like, that's lame. She was like, don't try to make me the scapegoat because you took a knee. Bottom line is you took a knee, you should have lost a point for it. So I would just say if they're smart, they don't want to make that Shakur Stevenson fight. They
Oh
really,
no.
really don't. Because I'm telling you, folks can say all day long he's not strong enough. Well, an accumulation of punches eventually will hurt, and you get points. I know this ain't the Olympics, but you'll get points. So I think that's somebody he wants to avoid
Mm-hmm.
for sure. So lastly, was there any other moving the needle you wanted?
Oh yeah, I
Um,
had one more quick one. My other moving the needle,
yeah,
which is going to be, I'm a huge outside of Carolina women's basketball. I'm a huge USC fan and Juju Watkins fan more specifically. And they literally swept the season series against UCLA. They beat them again this weekend. Juju had another incredible performance, 30 points. Like when you can get Cheryl Miller on her feet on the sideline, like that's good ball. And now like they're ranked number 2 in the AP poll for the first time in like over 25 years. So just huge shout out to them. And like I'm really hyped for the conference tournaments for women's basketball, and then of course March Madness starting really soon.
absolutely. Yeah, I saw Juju dapping up
Yeah,
Cheryl Miller on the sideline. She was coming back down the court. I was like, okay, yeah, you've more than arrived. Sure, you got
facts,
Cheryl Miller on her feet because Cheryl Miller is probably the greatest female to ever play. I
facts.
know,
I
I
agree.
know, folks are gonna argue Maya Moore. There's some others, Cheryl
She is. People
Swoops.
don't realize how good she was because she never got to play in the WNBA, but she was
That's what I'm saying.
chicken.
Yeah, listen, she Reggie Miller will tell you she used to cook him.
You remember that
Um,
quick story about where like he came home one night from his high school game, was like, "Yeah, I dropped 50,"
I dropped
and then
50.
and then she's like, "Yeah, I had 100." Like that's crazy.
Like, I mean, how does it feel for you to say, "Yeah, I dropped 50," and your sister looks at you and says, "Yeah, I doubled
That's
that."
insane.
That's insane. So shout out to Cheryl Miller. It wasn't even on purpose, but shout out.
Yep. Shout out Cheryl
Um,
Miller.
well, my moving the needle for the week. You mentioned it. It is my Tar Heels. It's the Tar Heels men's basketball team. 5 wins in a row. They had a significant hole to climb out of, but I like what I'm seeing. We obviously need to continue to win. I think we play tomorrow night, Virginia Tech, and then we have Duke on Saturday. So those are two wins that we need to continue to stack. And then to do some damage in the ACC tournament. I think there's a strong possibility we could do it. Shout out to Jalen Withers, even though he's obviously not doing his own tweeting. There's no doubt he's definitely the one who's on the basketball court. I think they said his dad because there were some comments that were made, and Armando Baycott was like, "Come on, dude, we know that's not you.
Yeah,
There's no way that you're the
I
one
saw that.
sending out those tweets." But he is definitely the one on the court. making a difference. So shout out to the Hills. Got to keep winning. But the future is looking up. The you know sometimes when you look at the stock market, they show that arrow. It's not necessarily all the way up, but it's trending to the right, moving up. So I like what I'm seeing. Got to continue to win, and we'll see where we end up, especially once the ACC tournament starts. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the J&J podcast. Again, shout out to our listeners. Appreciate y'all listening in. We will see you next week. Peace.